In this movie, we're going to examine the if function and the way in which we can use it to create different responses depending on the information that we feed into the if function. Let's take a look. We're going to use our sample database, and we're going to take a look at the products table. And we're going to select the name and price from the products table. As we can see, the range of prices that are stored are all represented as figures. If we want to use a description to cover a range of different prices, then we could automatically translate the price into the description of the price using the if function. We're going to run a similar select statement here, but instead of using the price column directly, we're going to use the if function. Now, the way the if function works is it takes 3 arguments between the brackets that immediately follow it. The first argument that it takes is evaluated, and then if it's true, the second argument is the output of the function, and if it's false, then the third argument is used. Let's take a look at a very simple example. Before we go to apply this to the products table. That's a very simple example of the way the if statement works. The first value is evaluated, first argument I should say is evaluated, and then one of the other 2 arguments is used as the output, depending on whether the expression that was evaluated was true or false. Of course, 1 is equal to 1, so the second argument is used as the output for the function, and this is what's displayed in the results table. So let's apply this to the select statement that we're using on the products table. In this case, we can say if price column is less than 15, we're going to use the word cheap, otherwise the word dear. And we're going to give a name to our if statement there. We're going to call it range. From the products table, we're going to take this information and we're going to similarly order them by the range column that we've just synthesized. As we can see, using the if function allows us to break down the data into broader categories. Let's take a look at a slightly more complex version of the same thing. We can use the if function to replace any information at any point within our query. So we can, instead of simply using a single set of values for the second and third arguments of the if function, we can nest if functions within the if function itself. So let's say price is less than 10 this time, and if this first expression is true, then we can use another if function for the second argument. If price is greater than 0, cheap, otherwise absolutely free. We have to use the brackets in the same way for the inner if functions, or the nested if functions, as we do for the outer one. For the second argument of the main if function, we're going to put in another if function which says if price is greater than 20, we're going to output mid. Otherwise, if it's less than 20, I should say, if it's less than 20, it's going to output mid. If it's greater or equal, it's going to output shocking. Then we close that bracket to close the arguments for the inner if function. Then we need another close bracket because we've nested it within the arguments for the outer if function. We're going to give the column the same name as we did the last time and specify the table from which we're going to take the data. As we can see, the different prices have now been broken down a little finer, but we're able to differentiate in a very calculated and graded way. So the if function can be useful for testing a certain condition on a piece of data before we decide to output it.